Health Matters with Paul Rosen.
Our diets, our Western diets in America are just really, you just don't realize how poor they really are.
What would you say to others who would like to feel better?
Sometimes you need to find the instruction. That's where the testing and everything comes in, because without that knowledge, there's no way I could have got to the point where I'm at today.
Straight talk about health.
And then I start preaching and telling them what I've been doing. And this guy named Paul Rosen has changed my life.
With your host, Paul Rosen.
By the way, the information contained in this program is not approved by the FDA, nor intended to treat, diagnose, or claim to cure any medical condition or disease as defined by Western medicine. However, skilled practitioners of many disciplines have found nutrition response testing to be a highly reliable supportive technology for assessing the health and fitness of the body's functional system.
All right, insomnia is a problem, is it not?
It is. In fact, it's and you hear this reported all the time that people are backlogged on sleep. They're just not getting enough. The sleep deprivation is extremely high just in the culture alone. And the reason why that's so important to understand is that the body really cannot heal unless you reach a certain level of deeper sleep. I'm not going to get really all that technical about it. I just want to make the point that without sleep, without good sleep, somewhere between even up to 8 hours of sleep doesn't mean it can't be broken up. You wake up to empty your bladder or something like that maybe once a night. That's no problem. But a good 8 hours of sleep a night is really critical to reset your nervous system, especially your autonomic nervous system, that part of your body that controls all of the bodily functions that you don't, which is just about everything. And then the healing factor. You can't heal at the deepest levels without getting into a good, deep sleep.
I think it stands to reason that none of your body's normal functions are going to do what they should be doing if you're not getting enough rest. I wonder, too, Paul, a quick aside, that in our modern world, we have people working much harder these days to get ahead. There's one thing that could affect the amount of sleep we get, but also we have all these distractions. I wonder how many people wake up briefly in the middle of the night, and instead of, as they may have done in days past, just looking at the clock and going right back to sleep, they pick up the damn phone, and surf on that for a few minutes, and then they try to go to sleep, and maybe they've seen something on the phone, maybe a message or some other bit of information that allows them not to sleep as well as they should.
The other one of the issues, especially for sleep, is lots of people have electronic devices in their bedrooms, things like computers or televisions or electric blankets, or these types of things, which oftentimes create what's called electromagnetic interference, and that can actually disturb a human being's autonomic nervous system.
So those devices are working on us maybe in two ways, what you just described right there, but also just the fact that you may get up and access the device and look at some information or do something that is further going to disrupt your sleep.
Yeah, in this case, it's just simply the presence of it. Which is generating an electromagnetic field, which can totally interfere with the body's self-managing electrical mechanisms.
So I'm willing to bet, I don't know if there are any numbers out there or any research, but I'll bet that effect has increased exponentially as we become more of a wired world in the past couple of decades.
Absolutely, and anybody who's having chronic sleep difficulties, one that might be labeled insomnia, and I would say that's certainly more disrupted sleep. If you're not sleeping day after day after day after day, and then you get into this chicken and the egg cycle where you're afraid to go to sleep because you know you're not going to go to sleep, then number one, look to see if you have any electronic devices in your bedroom, in and around your bedroom, and remove them.
Well, that's a good first step we could all take if we're suffering from sleeplessness, but I suspect there are many other causes, and among those are just the physiological factors that could be happening to us, including nutrition.
Well, nutrition forms the basis of when we start to look at people's organs and glands and their state. All right, most people who have disruptive sleep, it has to do with the autonomic nervous system itself, and there are some very good supplement remedies that can be used. There's one herbal remedy that if you muscle test for it well, and if you don't know what muscle testing is, you can go to my website at AcuNatural, that's acunatural.com. There's a demonstration there with some background information, and of course my books as well. But St. John's wort is a good restive. And then minerals, calming minerals. There are some great standard process products which we use in my clinic. It's standard process is a practitioner's line of concentrated food supplements that was created by a man called Dr. Royal Lee, back in as early as the late 1920s, and the supplements I'm referring to in particular are things like Minchex and Mintran and Orchex. Most people wouldn't know these things because they are a practitioner grade supplement, and you have to have training to understand how to use them.
So would most of us take these supplements in pill form? And I'm hoping we don't need to know the names of those necessarily off the top of our heads, because it sounded to me like you were describing people who might live along the yellow brick road as you were going along there.
Very creative.
Very creative.
Yeah. And so you've got St. John's wort, you've got Mintran, Minchex, and Orchex.
Right. Now, am I right? Those are something. That's some of the gang Dorothy may have run across on the way to the Emerald City. That's what it sounded like to me.
Orchex and
yeah, don't do that. I'm sorry I brought it up, that being the case. But are those things available in pill form then?
They are.
Okay.
Yeah, pills, capsules. And then also there could potentially be a calcium or magnesium imbalance. So that needs to be tested for. Bottom line is that when you've got the electronic, what we call one of the environmental stressors taken care of by eliminating the electronic devices out of the bedroom. Yes, that includes electric blankets. If you want to stay warm, a hot water bottle is the way to go. It's not generating an electromagnetic field.
Boy, now that's going to be a tough sell with some people, though. I think you could get them to move their computers maybe out of the bedroom, maybe even get them to put their phones somewhere else while they're recharging overnight. But giving up the electric blanket as the weather gets colder, as we head into fall and winter, that might be a harder one to get people to do, I think.
Could be, but if you're experiencing insomnia and you're constantly chronically fatigued,
So tell me if this even matters, Paul, this distinction. I've described my own sleeplessness on occasion. It's not very often, but it does happen. And I don't think I necessarily have full-on insomnia, or am I kind of picking nits by making a distinction there? Is there a difference between insomnia, as we may define it, and the regular lack of sleep that most all of us experience at one time or the other?
Absolutely, there's a difference. I mean, insomnia, generally speaking, from my point of view, clinically, as a person who night after night after night after night is simply not capable of either falling asleep, staying asleep, or both, right? And wakes up in the morning fatigued, wakes up in the morning, and then is going to sleep the next day, and it doesn't matter how much sleep they get, they still wake up fatigued. This is a problem. It's a big problem. Millions of people experience it. And honestly, it's simple to fix. Now, this all makes the assumption I'm making here is that an individual is taking care of themselves emotionally. That is, if they have a dilemma that they need to resolve, then they need to figure out the help to resolve it or resolve it themselves. That's really important. But, I mean, for example, take a child who's being bullied. It's a good example.
Sure, that kid's going to have all kinds of issues, and not being able to rest with that going on in his life would be one of those issues.
So something that is antagonizing you, your work, your relationships, whatever. Yes, those things have to be addressed, and you have to, begin to put a strategy of resolution in place.
So, bottom line, your mental health has a lot to do with your rest or the amount of rest you may get. And also, speaking of a cycle, Paul, there you go right there. The less rest you get, maybe the more cranky you are, and the worse you relate, the worse you relate to everybody around you. So pretty soon you're getting that negative feedback, which causes more negative feedback from you and maybe more lack of sleep.
We call that the ever-descending spiral.
Well, sure, that's what it is. You can call it whatever you want, but it's obvious to me. The less you sleep, the more vulnerable you are to other outside aggravating factors, which may further affect your ability to rest well.
And as I've said many, many times, the emotional realm is intimately connected with, inseparable from the physical realm. That's why nutrition, as the fundamental foundation, is so, so, so important. That's been my experience over and over, the past 25 years of clinical work.
And so there we come to the nub of it, I think. You can do things to control the state of your mental health, try to live a healthy lifestyle in that regard. You can remove aggravating electronics from your sleeping area, from your bedroom. Get rid of the electric blanket, the computers, the phone, all that stuff. But most importantly, you can make yourself more healthy and better able to rest well with what you eat.
Absolutely. And of course, one of the first things you have to eliminate from your life is
sugar.
Thank you.
There you go. See? How long have we been doing this show? Like 5 years now? And finally, I can answer that question with authority. Whenever you ask me that, I won't sit here staring blankly at you as I have in days past, thinking that we had to eliminate TV dinners or something. Right. No, it's sugar that has to go.
Well, TV dinners too, but
okay. What, are you kidding?
Yeah, 5 years for you and I, but oh my gosh, I've been doing this show for quite a bit longer than that.
I know, but I've learned a lot in the period that you and I have been working together, and I know now that sugar is the basis for all kinds of health issues.
Yeah, I mean, I know some people may get tired of me saying it, but the bottom line is the truth is the truth, and you can't, you can do whatever you want, but sugar is essentially the root of all degeneration with respect to how your body can or cannot function. It's just that simple. So that's number one. And when I say sugar, I'm talking about all concentrated sweeteners. Right? When you start having symptoms, when you start not being able to get some decent sleep night after night after night, things are definitely, on the back foot. And so you have to, you simply must take these steps in order to regain any kind of balance. So eliminating sugar is one of them. And, of course, other concentrated sweeteners include fruit juices and honey maple syrup, agave syrup, blue, green, heavenly, helly, whatever. Agave syrup.
Heavenly,
yeah,
helly.
Whatever. I don't. And any other kind of concentrated sweetener except for stevia.
And also, I can say you can go to your computer right now, folks, if you're so inclined. Go to Google and maybe put in a search term like sugar health, and you're going to find what Paul says here backed up by many, many sources. Every legitimate source will say that sugar is just flat out bad for you. And if you're consuming too much of it, you're doing yourself no good.
And one of the things that people learn when they come to work with me is there's this notion out there that you can do most things in moderation. Or the other one, the other rationale that people say to themselves, well, I mean, generally, I eat pretty well. And, I just have like maybe a little bit.
But what does that mean? I eat pretty well. And what does generally in that context mean? Exactly.
So the truth of the matter is most people, when they come to my clinic and they begin to experience the muscle testing, they realize that line of thought will only get you in trouble. There's no such thing as a little bit. A little bit does the same thing as a lot. It disrupts your autonomic nervous system. End of story. And I have a brand new clinical evaluation tool called the Heart Sound Recorder, which will demonstrate to you just how bad sugar really is, especially for your heart. And what could be more personal
than your heart. So we now have a tool to be able to take a live look in at how your heart is functioning, the valves, the pump, and then garner nutritional information from the graph that is produced. That's really cool.
Interesting.
This particular device was invented by Royal Lee back in the mid-1930s, and he used it at the time to generate so many of the supplements and supplement protocols that he discovered way back when. And but that machinery was destroyed or long since suppressed by the current paradigm, medications and surgery, and the ilk that promotes it. And then now it's been rediscovered, innovated with solid state technology. It's one of the coolest new pieces of a clinical evaluation tool that I have. It's amazing.
Those are good to have, those tools. And also something to start doing immediately is policing your food for sugar content. You will be horrified. I absolutely guarantee you will be shocked to find out the sugar content in some of the foods you love. We may all know that, say, a Snickers bar is no good for you, but you'll eat it anyway. You should probably know that a Snickers bar is like 51% sugar. And also, if you drink something like Sunny D orange juice, it's barely orange juice, by the way. That stuff is like, I kid you not, 90% sugar.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've talked about this many times. Back in the 1800s, the average consumption of sugar was something like 4 pounds per person per year. And now it's up to 170.
I think there are a number of factors involved in that, but one of those is not just the fact that we have more sweets available to eat. Of course, that's one of the things that we do have going on, but there's just more sugar in more foods than we're aware of.
That's exactly right. I mean, it's in almost everything. If you take a look at the label, and by the way, folks, on a food label, as I've said many times, the nutrition facts part of the label is wasted space. It's not really necessary. What should be in that big part of the geography on the label is the ingredients, rather than in 6-point type, which you can barely read. It should be, in 10 or 12-point type. But it's in the ingredients, and if you bother to stroll through the store and just look at the ingredients of the food items that you generally buy, it will freak you out. Most of my patients who come to work with me bring that observation back. Oh my gosh, I never realized just how much sugar was in everything. It's amazing.
However, if we're lacking a particular hormone in our bodies, it could affect our ability to rest well. What is that hormone? Okay, well, maybe I should just say it myself. How about
melatonin, all right, melatonin.
Now, why is melatonin important to proper sleep
function? Well, melatonin is a hormone that is connected to the sleep cycle, and so. But the problem is that supplementing melatonin specifically, the body works the body's systems work utilizing whole engines. Whole structures, not just elements, not just, one factor. And, melatonin capsules, although they may work temporarily for some people, usually there's a whole system underneath that needs to be addressed. And so using one factor of even a vitamin, say vitamin B12 shots, or melatonin, is the same thing as utilizing a medication. Something gets suppressed, side effects occur, and but causes don't get addressed. And then there's also the endocrine glands, especially the thyroid, and also an organ, the heart. The heart is very important when it comes to a balanced autonomic nervous system and being able to slow things down when things should be slowed down.
One more note, you can get a free chapter of Paul Rosen's book, The Missing Piece. Just go to his website, acunatural.com, acunatural.com, and fill out the dialog box that pops up. Rest assured, no information you provide will ever be shared with anyone else. So, what are you waiting for? Get going on your personal road to wellness today.